waiting.
You want to tell
Here.
to start?
Next week, we will be right here, as before. The following day, that's the 9th. We're okay? Are we up? Okay, let me check.
Jerry, so in the OBS, right?
Australia.
Audio mixer. Hello, are you still there?
Okay,
so
okay,
OBS, under the audio mixer, there's Logitech Brio. I guess there's webcam.
Alan, my man.
And then there's soundboard. There's only 2. And Logitech Brio, there's no signal. Soundboard, we're getting good signal.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo Saranto Suchedoye Olahuri Samya Samputoshi.
Namo Saranto Suchedoye Alahari Samya Sambutoshi.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫能遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in the millions of eons. But now we see it, hear it, and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 师父上人，各位师兄，大家阿弥陀佛 Venerable Master, and our friends. Welcome to our Sutra lecture tonight. Glad to see you all. Oh my goodness, so many friends. It's great. I'm back here in Berkeley, California. It is July 1st, 2023. And in Australia, it is the 2nd. And I want to express my gratitude to all of the volunteers who are helping make these amazing connections that we made from Berkeley to the hinterland of Gold Coast, to China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, and Indonesia, in Chinese, mind you, as well as the translation into Vietnamese. So we're on multiple platforms, we're on YouTube, we're on Zoom, and we're live here in Berkeley, California. Those of you who are in front of the balcony, if you can look up, you'll see a stained glass bodhisattva making her way across the facing there. That's one of the wonderful parts about lecturing here in the peak of summer. We're just tomorrow is going to be a full moon. We're in just past the summer solstice, which is when the sun sets across the Golden Gate Bridge at 8:58 tonight. My watch tells me what time the sun sets. And this, in the summer, the sun comes through the Bodhisattva's colored image. I get to watch it progress its way. By the time the lecture is over, the Bodhisattva will have gone to bed. We'll be switching to night duty as she rescues the beam. So it's quite wonderful. Let's proceed with the rest of our opening protocol. Everybody who doesn't have a camera facing that way is saying, what is he talking about? What is going on? Wish you could be here. It's quite wonderful. What we do with the music is invoke. We say to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, the gods, the dragons, the Eightfold Pantheon, please come. We're here opening the sutras. We're keeping the Dharma wheel turning, and as they say, Xu Fo Hui Ming, we're keeping the life of the Buddha's wisdom out in the air so people can hear it, get excited about it, get interested in it, want to learn more about it. That's what we're doing here. And actually, it's funny, if Master Hua called this place Fa Jie Zong Jia Yan Zhou Yan, he said, this is the Institute for World Religions at the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. So that was a vision, a vow that Shifu made to create a place where religions and people could come to talk to each other and find out about principles, find out about virtue, find out ways to actually save the world. That was his vision, save the world and all living beings. So that was kind of the mission here. And later on, we called it people don't know quite, it's a 不可来生寺, 不可来, 你不可来这里.怎么不可来? So how do we call, Berkeley Monastery? What if we were to start over and do it again? We would call it probably something like Huayan Jiatang, something like that, or Dongwan Fojiao Jiatang, the East Bay Buddhist Lecture Hall, something like that, to get the Jiatang in it, because Shifu in Hong Kong started the Shandong Fojiao Jiatang, the Buddhist Lecture Hall of Hong Kong. When he got to San Francisco, what did he create? The Fojiao Jiatang, And what did he do there? Jiang, right? This Jiangtang is a place where you open the sutras, talk about words the Buddha spoke. Let the Buddha's voice be heard. And that's what we do here a lot. And so probably we would rename it, but we'll stick with 不可来生寺. Yeah. The humor there is that 不可来 means you can't get there. The sage's monastery that you can't get to. Okay. Doesn't sound very promising, but so let's welcome them. And if they come, if we're sincere, then there's a change in the atmosphere and you feel cooler and kind of the things that worried you before you came in the door just kind of drift away, right? And when you leave, you feel fashi fuma, full of the joy of Dharma. Here we go. One last time. Namo Da Fang Guang Po Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Hai Wei Po Pu Sa. Alrighty. And not the Pomo people, not the Kumbumeri people, but the Chochechno Ohlone people practice their spiritual connections to the earth and all creation here on their ancestral land for tens of thousands of years. Today we acknowledge them as traditional custodians and original storytellers of these lands. We offer our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. And we say, Cho Chechno Ohlone的人，在他们祖先的土地上修炼着他们与土地和万物的精神联系，已有数万年，可能更多了。今天我们承认他们是这些土地的传统监护人和原始讲故事的人。并且向他们过去、现在和新兴的长老们，我们表示敬意，以及主权从未被割让的所有的第一民族人民们表示敬意。So who are the Chochechno Ohlone people? They were the folks the humans who lived here first, along with, I guess all of you know. Have I told this story before? You know that UC Berkeley was the first of the many UC campuses, of which now number 11, I believe. And the piece of land that became the University of California, Berkeley, has creeks running through it, particularly Strawberry Creek, people know? These are the East Bay Hills, and creeks run down. There's blueberry, mulberry, raspberry, strawberry. Strawberry Creek runs right through that piece of land that became the University of California, and they say 200 years ago there were grizzly bears finding strawberries in Strawberry Creek. Strawberry Canyon is further up where the botanical garden is. So only after humans came and just proliferated
there were grizzly bears, which are a sign of a healthy ecosystem. California, and what is the mascot of University of California? Go Bears. Any UCLA gang? No, USC, right? So, go Trojans? Not here, dude. Wrong campus. Okay, so yeah. So anyway, the Chochechno Ohlone people lived here in harmony with the grizzly bears. Why? Because everybody had enough to eat. When you travel down to Emeryville, you go visit the Apple store or wherever you go, what's the name of the main thoroughfare? It's called Shell Mound Road, right? People know Shell Mound Road down there. What a funny name. Why Shell Mound Road? Because the bay provided so much shellfish for people to just go down and pull out dinner. Mind you, you're eating shellfish. Buddhists would probably want vegan shellfish, I think. But you ate so many shellfish that the discarded shells made mounds. And when the white folks arrived, the Spanish, Mexican missionaries, they found these mounds of shells. And if you dig down there, you pretty quickly run right into all of these clam shells and oyster shells and mussel shells and all the different kinds of shellfish. So that's the Chochechno Ohlone people. And then our ancestors arrived and wiped them out. That's a story for another time. But today we acknowledge them, and we hope to extend our wisdom standing on the shoulders of those first humans who did a better job of living in harmony with the planet than we are doing currently. So, all right, now we have more to do, which is, it was Madalena, our Dajie, our big Dharma sister, who reminded us that Shifu, before he lectured, used to hit a bell, ding, special bell, and do the bell song. He asked one of our earliest nuns, Heng Yin, the other, not Heng Yin, but Heng Yin, Lani, to put a tune to this text. When Shifu recited it, it looked like this. It was 众生穿三千界内，佛法扬万亿国中，共宣启法界和平，利益报他那厚德。And I confess, when it's done by a dade, oh, it's really beautiful. It's one of those tunes that they just drag it on and on, like that. They just, really drung in, really ornate. I can't do it. I won't even pretend to. And there's lots of banging on the bell, and it's really, when you're done, you're like, ooh, I'm ready to hear the Dharma, So we, in our kind of American folk song style, do this. We go, and we'll improve, we'll get it better, but just to let you know that we've gone back to including this in our before the lecture. It goes like this. The bell sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. There it is. Very nice. We'll get that worked out so everybody can hear how it's supposed to sound at some point. Okay, there we go. Now, tonight, boy, oh boy. Haven't sat here for months, but we've been continuing from Australia, and I know many of you I saw you online, but boy, is it different looking at people's faces. It's so nice. What's going on in the Avatamsaka Sutra is a big deal. Oh boy. The last time I was here, we were still finishing up the 10 stages, the 10 grounds, Shirdipin. And that's a huge chapter. That's one of the biggest chapters in the whole sutra. When we finished that, we were thinking, what's next? What do we want to explain next? Another piece of the Avatamsaka Sutra. So somebody said, oh, Ru Fa Jiepin, entering the Dharma realm. And I said, no, it's too big, too long. We'll be at it for years. And people said, that's really what we want to hear, Fasher. That's the next one. And what it reminded me was, before we started the 10 grounds, somebody said, oh, that's just too big. You'll be at it for years. Well, we were, and we're done. We not only started the 10 grounds, we finished the 10 grounds. We're on the other side of it. And we did a line-by-line, steady, a progressive exploration of the bodhisattva's path. First, second, third, fourth, sixth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th stage. Whoa, with all the verses. And it was, I remember at one point, as a younger monk, I said, if I was ever able to explain the 10 stages, I could die happy. I'm done. That's it, basically. I've done my job. Well, guess what? We've begun chapter 39, which is 4 times bigger than the 10 stages chapter. And, it's a big, big chapter. But it is the most rewarding, the most relatable of the entire Avatamsaka Sutra because there's a person in there. There's a hero. It's an epic story. How many English majors? We got 1. Okay, good for you. Almost excellent. We need more English majors. They're an endangered species now, with STEM getting all the research money. So English majors know about epic stories, epics. Epics, it's a genre, it's a category of literature where there is a hero, he or she sets out on a quest. They encounter untold challenges, dangers, crises, wounding. The hero always gets wounded and comes back broken. That's how the light gets in. But they ultimately succeed and come back wiser. So every culture has epics, and it doesn't mean just long. For example, in China, we know about Xiyoji, right? Journey to the West, Monkey. Monkey is kind of an epic. I guess it does qualify for that criteria of a hero, journey, danger, ultimate success after overcoming troubles. But people don't think that Mahayana Buddhism has epic literature. It's like, who says? We never heard of it, right? Well, how many people have touched the Avatamsaka Sutra? Unless you speak Chinese or Korean or Japanese, or maybe a piece of Sanskrit, you may never have heard of it. That included me before I arrived at Gold Mountain Monastery, and I was a student of Mahayana Buddhist literature from the academic side. So as soon as I arrived at Gold Mountain Monastery, there on 15th Street were glass windows over the front door, and it said, Hua Yan Hui. If there had been 4 windows, it would have said Hua Yan Fa Hui, but 3 windows, Hua Yan Hui, Avatamsaka Assembly, Avatamsaka Gathering. Master Hua had just started to explain the Avatamsaka Sutra, and as he said, sutras are like magnets. We, living beings, are like pieces of metal, iron, and pieces of metal gets near the magnet, and zoom, bang, attracted right to it. Somehow I showed up in Berkeley, California, when Master Hua began to explain the Avatamsaka Sutra, and
Zoom. I remember one evening, I was the student of Professor Louis Lancaster, bless his heart, who was chair of the Buddhist. It's called the Buddhist group in the Oriental Language Department back then, and I was the right age and the right. I lived 8 houses down the street from him. I was kind of going to follow in his footsteps. I traveled across the bay, met the Huayan Hui, walked in the door of Gold Mountain Monastery, and realized that my life was taking a different route. Walking up Wisconsin Avenue, Professor Lancaster, I've decided I'm going to move over to Gold Mountain Monastery and become a monk. Professor Lancaster said, I was afraid of that, he said. And, you know, good guy. Since then, he and I keep crossing paths at Buddhist functions around the world. He's currently in Taiwan, I believe. Anyway, so Professor Lancaster had many, many, many disciples after that. There's an entire generation of frontline professors and scholars and researchers who came through his teaching. So the fact that I left home didn't bother him long. His accomplishments in creating scholars is legendary. So anyway, the Avatamsaka Sutra, entering the Dharma realm, it's an epic. It's a Buddhist epic. There is a hero. His name is, what's his name? Sudhana. Isn't that a place up in Ukiah called that? Did they name him after that place? Something like that. Yeah. No, the other way around. They named the place after him. Oh. Sudhana. What does Sudhana mean? Shancai, what does that mean? Good and?
Very wealthy.
Maybe wealthy? Really wealthy. Okay, what about the good part? That's the really. 好有钱，大富翁. Okay. So, now, Iwan has answered the last 2 questions. That's your quota. Somebody else, you can't rely on Iwan for like I do. Whenever I have a question, Iwan, are you listening? So, yeah. So, yes, Sudhana is Shancai, and he is a Tongzi. Now, that's even harder to translate. Shancai, Shan is good. Wholesome, like good. Really, capital G, good like good versus evil, good. Cai is wealth, possessions, money, stuff, money in the bank. Shancai would translate as, when you used to go into the movie theater and you'd take, now it's probably $3, you go to the counter and you get those little things that are pink and black and white. What were those called? Am I the oldest one in the room? I think so. What were those called at the movie theater? Good and plenty. 5 points to the gentleman who. Good and plenty, right? So you could be good and wealthy. Shancai, good and wealthy. They were kind of licorice. They weren't really very good, but you could buy them. And when I was a kid, they were 75 cents. Now I'm sure they're like $3.75 probably, if they still make them. So who goes to movie theaters anymore? I don't know. Okay, some of us do. All right. So yeah, good and wealthy, or wholesome and wealth, or good wealth. Nam, there's a bowing bench. Add one down there. So really wealthy. And the story goes, why did he get a name like that? It's because when he was born, spontaneously, treasures appeared in his family's coffers everywhere. And it's like, whoa, this kid brought with him, he has so many blessings that he brought with him not only good luck, but good stuff too. So, in chapter 39, what happens is, I'm going to take one step back. The Avatamsaka Sutra has 40 chapters. There were 3 different versions that came to China over a period of about 400 years. That 3rd version included chapter 40, so we'll say that the whole Avatamsaka has 40 chapters. The largest one, chapter 39, it's 1/4 of the entire sutra in length. The first 3 quarters talk about how the bodhisattva path
could be practiced if you really wanted to do it. If you decided you wanted to be a bodhisattva. You know Brian Conroy's song? When I grow up, I want to be a bodhisattva. When I grow up. Is that a digression? That's a digression. Okay, well, that's just, we'll sing that for you later. Okay. If you want to be a bodhisattva, study the first 3/4 of the sutra. That'll take you from chapter 1 to chapter 38. The 10 stages is the kind of the heartbeat of the bodhisattva path, and it's a long chapter. But one entire quarter of the chapter of the sutra is one chapter, chapter 39. The theory of how you should practice the bodhisattva path comes back in the person of a pilgrim, Sudhana. He puts it into practice. He takes the theory and puts on his tennis shoes and goes walking. Now, in the process of his pilgrimage, his epic journey, he encounters how many? Not 51, not 52, but 53 teachers. Amazing. He goes to bow to 53 teachers and asks them each for Dharma. That's why it's so long. And in the process of reading this chapter, you get to meet 53 incredible spiritual friends. Kalyana Mitra, they're called. Shan Zhishi. Is that a question, Connie? We're going to need a microphone. Chinyang Shi had a, is that, there it is, it's all ready, it's ready to go. Or you could shout.
So I was wondering why there was 53 teachers. Is it because in the first part of the sutra, is it because there's 53 teachings?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, good question. Connie's question, why that number, right? How come? Okay. The reason is, in the way the Avatamsaka Sutra presents Dharma, it says in order to get to Buddhahood, somebody who follows this path has to go through 50 stages and then 2 more. So each of the teachers that Sudhana meets represents one of those stages. What are they? They say, the 10 positions of faith, the 10 abodes. One is the Shixin, there's the Shizhu. The next is the 10 practices, that's 30. The next is the 10 dedications, 10 transferences, that's 40. The last is the 10 stages, the 10 grounds, that's 50. You add on top of that what's called Dangjue, and then on top of that is Miaojue, equal enlightenment or unbiased awakening. And then the last one is called wonderful awakening. That's Buddhahood. So it's like, if another way to ask the same question will you just say, why does the BA curriculum require freshman, sophomore, junior, senior? It does. It's kind of the way we've done it. Why does graduate school require an MA and then a PhD and then a postdoc? That's just the way it's done. So the Bodhisattva path in the Avatamsaka comes to us in 52, sometimes 53. So if the question is, how come you're fuzzy about 52 or 53, and it always is, you say 52 or 53, it's because one of the last teachers is a pair of twins. There are 2 of them. And they both respond to Sudhana. So, and what do they teach him? They teach him the Avatamsaka alphabet, Huayan Zimu, which is a wonderful study all by itself. So, okay. So here we are. We have, is that good? That's why. So in every case, Sudhana asks for Dharma, and they teach him, and he's all excited, and he asks them personal questions. When did you first decide you wanted to become a Buddha? 你如何先发大菩提心？麻烦你告诉我。And they tell him their stories. And they're really relatable, you know. They're among these teachers, there are 2 incense makers whose job is to make incense. And they talk about how their incense is incredible. You light one little stick, little piece of incense, and combatants on the battlefield don't want to fight anymore. It's peace incense. They lose their aggression, right? Let's get that incense to the Ukraine. Take it to Moscow. Solve all the problems. Just light it at the Kremlin. Oh. So the other incense maker says, okay, when I light a single piece of this incense, all of the Tianlong Babu musicians come down and dance and play music. It is the same incense that the god Chakra lights when he wants to throw a party. This is in the Sutra, right? Chakra wants to entertain guests in the heavens, lights incense, and the Gandharvas and Garudas, Gandharvas and Kinnaras, musical spirits, all show up going, where's the party? Dun, 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 dun. And the party starts because he lit the right incense, right? So, incense maker. Sudhana goes to a ship's captain. His name is Vaira, ship captain Vaira. Vaira's job is to take merchants out into the ocean to find treasures. And according to the Avatamsaka, that's where you go. If you want to get jewels and pearls and rubies and diamonds, wonderful things, you go to the ocean. And so he takes them out in the ocean, and there's never been an accident. They always come back safely. And in the ocean, along with the treasures and wonderful gems and jewels, there are also rakshasas and demons and pishashas and yakshas and ghosts and demons and monsters, right? So, yeah, living in the Gold Coast, you have a very different relationship to the ocean. The week before I came back, we went to Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary, one of my favorite places. And they hadn't opened yet. We arrived early, so we walked a block down to the beach. And as we were, this miles and miles and miles and miles of perfect sand beaches, the Gold Coast. It's one of the world's surfing destinations. It's a place where the local university teaches an entire major in surfing medicine. There's enough surfing accidents that you need surfing doctors. So here we are. We come out on the beach, and here's the wonderful sand. And the guy I'm with says, oh, check out. Look at that. 100 yards off the coast, 20 dolphins are leaping out of the water and heading south. We're like, oh, you know. Standing on the beach, we get to see the dolphins go by. And you can't see the whales, but the whales are there. The whales go right by the Gold Coast. And there's a flourishing business in whale watching for, I think, 6 months out of the year. And you only go 100 yards offshore, and here come the mighty leviathans going north and south. And I did it and saw them, and our Dharma protector, Sam, took me out with his school group, and there they are. So ship's captain Vaira takes the merchants out into the ocean, and because of his cultivation, he has a specific faman, specific Dharma door that keeps them all safe. And he teaches it to Sudhana, and Sudhana is like, oh, that's incredible. That's just so wonderful. What does ship's captain Vaira say? He says, well, this is all I know about the bodhisattva path, but you know, if you really want to get the answer to your question, you need to go south and bow to, I think the one who follows him is a courtesan. She's a woman of the night, so to speak, or a person of the night. I guess this is Berkeley, so we have to be, this is gender non-specific. So he says, ask her how to cultivate the bodhisattva path, and she will teach you. And Sudhana says, I don't want to leave you. You're wonderful. He says, you must go south. So he often cries at saying goodbye to his teacher, and he circles him. They say,
Wuliangza goes around many times, turning to the right, bows, and with tears in his eyes, Yi Jiao Feng Xing, he takes instructions and goes south to the next teacher. And on and on and on. And in the process, what happens? He gets frightened. He gets scared. He meets the Brahmin, whose name is Wu Yanre, insatiable heat, or incessant heat. And this is a Brahmin, and they describe him as a Brahmin, which is taken directly from Indian culture, Indian folklore. What does the Brahmin do? The Brahmin subjects his body to the 5 fires. That's his cultivation. And that is to say, the Brahmin, so Sudhana shows up, puts his palms together, circles and bows, and says, Da Shang, great sage, he says, I've been told that you are really good at explaining the Dharma. I need to ask you, 如何修菩萨行，如何行菩萨道，请大圣为我解释. He says, I want to know how to cultivate the bodhisattva practices. I want to learn how to walk the bodhisattva path. Please explain it for me. Okay, he says that 52 times. There's twins who hear it, 53rd. Every time he asks the same 2 questions. Now, is that it? Does that solve the problem? No, the teachers ask him back a question. Every time, 52 times. They say, 善男子，如已发大菩提心法? Good man, have you made the great Bodhi resolve? And Sudhana says, 喂，我早已经发大菩提心. And the good advisors go, okay, roll your sleeves up, let's go to work. I'm satisfied. As long as you have made the Bodhi resolve, you can hold my teachings. You are a zai fa qi. You're a vessel that can hold the Dharma. Get out your notebook, get out your phone, turn on the voice recording app, and let's go. And he teaches him the Dharma. And same thing, Sudhana goes, oh, that's incredible. I have to go? Yes, go south, because I don't know the whole story. If you want to really hear the answer, go south. So this process happens 52 times. And it's initiated by none other than Manjushri, Bodhisattva, who they say, particularly, he is, by the way, sitting right there. It's still light out, so we can see him. On his lion, with his wisdom sword and his blue lotus looking quite awesome. So those of you who can't see because of the camera, I'm pointing to our stained glass Manjushri Bodhisattva window here. So Manjushri is, they say, he has been a Buddha 6 times. He came back a 7th time as a Bodhisattva, particularly to initiate Sudhana on his pilgrimage. So he is he's a teacher of teachers. He is the number 1 kind of the chancellor of the Buddhist Studies Academy of the Avatamsaka. And he shows up in chapter 39, but you know what? We're not there yet. There is a long, long prelude before Manjushri shows up and the action begins. As soon as Manjushri shows up, oh, stuff starts to happen. Shariputra shows up with 6,000 disciples, 6,000 students, and they all put their palms together and learn from Manjushri. And then, at the end of the section that we're on now, we have a long way to go, Manjushri comes down to the human realm and at a place called Fuchang, the city of blessings, and he says, here he is, here he comes. And as he points, out of the city of blessings comes a group of 300 young people. They are tongzi. They're young men and young women who have great, bright futures, and at their head is a strapping, kind-hearted, tall, sturdy, good-looking young man whose name is Sudhana. Aha! there's our hero. He shows up. And Manjushri says, this is my Zaifa Chi. Here is someone who is capable of going to Buddhahood today. Well, 12 years later, but he's got it. He's on the way. He has everything he needs. He's not going to get halfway and decide he wants to become, an AI entrepreneur instead. He's not going to like cash out and go into crypto or, decide that instead he's going to get a sailboat and head off to Bermuda. No, he wants to cultivate all the way to success. He can. And Sudhana, after getting this welcome from Manjushri, says, there's a long passage. He said, Yen wo zai zi cheng. I want to ride in this carriage, he says. Save me a seat in that car, he says. It's funny, over and over. So Manjushri praises him with poetry. Sudhana responds with poetry that says, yes, please let me ride in that, teach me what you're going to teach me. Manjushri says, okay, good job. You go south. Go find Doyun Fashi, the first teacher. Sudhana goes. Okay. Now, for sure, when we get to that point, you all are going to want to save your seat here. You won't want to be away because it's just too good to hear. Real people really talking about the Bodhisattva path. Well, real people, yeah. They are exemplars. They are templates, right? They're the paradigm of how we could be bodhisattvas. And there are, interestingly enough, this is Avatamsaka Dharma we're talking about. 52 teachers, how many women among the 52? People go, oh, you had to bring that up? Same old story, huh? Actually not. 21. Almost half. Almost half of the teachers are women, right? And they come in all races. They come in all religions. They're Brahmins, non-Buddhists. Some of them don't even talk. There's one teacher who keeps silent. I left off the scary one. The Brahman insatiable heat. What does he do? He subjects his body to the 5 fires. He, in order to cultivate, climbs up a tree of knives and jumps into a pit of flaming oil. And comes out and does it again, jumps out. That's his cultivation. Sudhana looks at him and goes, yeah, no thank you, that's a demon. Why am I? And at that moment, all of the devas, from the lowest heaven to the highest heaven, come down to him and say, hold on. Do not doubt this teacher. Our experience with him was that as soon as he subjected his body to the 5 fires, all of the shadows in our heavens vanished. This bright light shone. And all of the doubts in living beings' minds vanished. They all saw the light, You must follow this teacher. So Sudhana goes, I have to climb the tree of knives and jump into it. Yes, do it. So Sudhana goes, climbs the tree of knives, jumps into the pit of flaming oil, and all of his bodhisattva practices get purified. And he says, strange indeed, wise one, he said. As soon as my body touched the oil, he said, I felt cool and refreshed. He said, so he does experience fear, and he overcomes his fear based on faith and is rewarded, right? And for example, so we've talked about the ship's captain, we've talked about the courtesan, we talked about the incense makers, and we talked about the Brahman. It's amazing that the courtesan, the person of ill repute, Sudhana, it's very straightforward how he overcomes his, people look at him, don't go there. She's, you don't want to go there. You'll forget about cultivation. And they come and say, don't be confused about that. There is one of the stories is a love story where the
It's one of the spirits that guard the night. There are 10 spirits, all female, who protect the night. Hu, Ye, Shen, they're called. And they all tell their individual stories about how on the yin di, on the ground of causation, they first fa putishin. How did they first make the Bodhi resolve? And it's fascinating. One of them says, in the past, he says, I was a prince. And the sutra goes on to describe all his princely qualities. You know, he was a real prince, wealthy, going to inherit the kingdom, handsome, strong, a good archer, a good rider, a good scholar, a good debater, a kind heart, you know, all these qualities. And one day, he was going to go ride through the city, and it was announced, and he was still single. All right. So the sutra then goes to a young maiden, and I have forgotten her name, but she says, Mom, she says, I'm going to marry the prince. And the mother, don't have that thought. You're not, you know, he's not going to look at you. Don't think about it, because you're going to be disappointed, she says. There's just too much. He's the prince, and you are a maiden, and many good qualities, but don't set yourself up for real loss, real disappointment, right? The sutra talks about the maiden. She is virtuous, she is wise, she is attractive, she's kind, she's skilled, she's educated, all these wonderful qualities. And so she says, Mom, let's go look at the prince. So they go out on the street. The prince takes one look at her and says, are you, he looks at her fingers, no wedding ring, you know, are you promised to anybody? What family do you belong to? Who's your father? Who's your older brother? I want to meet them and arrange and, you know, I want to meet you. And so they do, and instantly they realize that they are soulmates and they should be together. And this is the sutra. This is the Avatamsaka Sutra telling this love story, right? And so as soon as they decide that they're going to get married, guess what happens? The Buddha shows up in town, in the park. What? A lotus flower comes up, and here's the Buddha. And they go down to meet the Buddha. And so the young woman says, the young man says, I think I really do want to marry you, but on the second thought, bad idea. Why? Well, because in the future, I might want to leave home after, grandkids or something. After I'm king, I'm going to step aside, yield the throne, and go cultivate, and you won't want to let me go. You're going to be upset. She says, no. She says, I probably will leave home before you. I think I will probably get tired of washing your socks, and I will, I just may cultivate before you. He says, in that case, well, we could consider, getting married. On second thought, it's not going to work. Why not? Well, because I might be inspired by real cultivators to cut off a finger or to offer my hand or my arm to a beggar. I might give my bone marrow to those who need it for the sake of the Dharma, and you would be really upset if your husband started dismembering himself. And she said, actually, no, I think I will probably give my teeth and my tongue and my blood first before you will. So, because I have that same mind. He says, well, in that case, maybe we should get married after all. So, now, you think this sounds like a joke. This is the Avatamsaka Sutra. How interesting. What an amazing book, right? Buddhist sutras talk like this. How come I didn't know about this? Well, how's your classical Chinese? How's your Sanskrit? How's your Korean? How's your Japanese? So, Master Hua said, it is very important that these sutras see the light of day here in the West. We want these sutras we want the Buddha's voice to be heard. We don't want to get lost in some maze of commentary. So we study the commentaries, we love them, but we don't lecture from the commentaries, because this is the kind of thing that keeps the sutra from being heard, right? It's really true. There's this custom in Asia, our wisdom is insufficient. We have to go to the Tang Dynasty monks who write very wonderfully, but it's humans' interpretation of the Buddha's Meaning, Shifu studied the commentaries, then set them aside, opened the sutra, and said, let's listen to the Buddha's voice. And you can too, he said. And then after he was done, he'd say, what did you all hear? 你谁有什么问题没有啊？你们没有问题，我就有问题喽，会问你们呢，你们要赶快问哦。Shifu would say, who's got any questions? If you don't have any questions, I'm going to ask you, so you better ask first, or else you're going to be stuck. So we'd say, Shifu, what does it mean? He'd say, it's a good question, Or not. He would say, you're not sincere, you're just doing it because you thought I'd like it, right? Shifu was lihai. So that's our sutra. Now, we want to get to the fun part, where Sudhana starts off, but this is a large, large chapter, and there are two major sections before Manjushri comes down and things begin. So our approach was that we were going to recite our way through the first couple chapters instead of lecturing every line, right? So from Australia, that's what I've been doing. We've been reciting along, and when we got to something really worthy, I would talk about it briefly. But this is kind of a strategy that we've been working on. Coming up soon is a description of the bodhisattva's samadhis that they entered, that they merged with, that they joined before the action begins. How many of them are there? Named 100. We have to go through 100 samadhi names, among other things, to get there. So, that is a long preamble to catch us up to where we are. And here is our first section tonight. Can you all see that? Is that big enough to see? Okay, should we put our palms together? If I gave you a line and you read it back, it would take double time. So let's read it together. Now, remember how we do it? That period right there, that means pause. That period right there means pause. This period over, those are commas actually. This period here means full stop. Take a breath. Take a breath. Okay, and this, again, white space, pause. Listen to the person beside you, in front of you, behind you, and let's see if we can go 异口同音, different voices, same sound. Ready? Here we go. Okay. 尔时世尊欲令诸菩萨安住如来狮子平身广大三昧故 Pause. Breathe. 从眉间白毫相放大光明，其光明普照三世法界门，以不可说佛刹微尘数光明，而为眷属。Pause, take a breath. 普照十方一切世界海，诸佛国度。Okay, same rules. Punctuation is our friend. Okay, watch the punctuation. That tells us how to breathe. Ready? Here we go. At that time, the world-honored one, wishing to bring all bodhisattvas to peacefully abide in the Tathagata's vast charging lion samadhi, released a light from the hallmark between his eyebrows. The name of this light was universally illumining the gate of the Dharma realm of the three periods of time, and an ineffable array of lights, as many as dust particles in Buddha kshetras, accompanied it. They illuminated every Buddha land in an ocean of worlds throughout the 10 directions. Okay, so there are, in the Avatamsaka, 9 different lectures, 9 different teachings. This is number 9, and they appear in 7 different places. This is the Jada Grove. Every time when the Buddha is going to speak
he releases light. That's one of the hallmarks of a Buddha, is this ability to fang da guangming, right? His body is no longer only made of blood and fat and tissue. So he's able to release light from different parts of his body. This time, it comes from the white hair tuft, his eyebrows, between his eyebrows. This is one of the 32 hallmarks. Bai Hao Guangming is said. And what he wants to do is teach all the bodhisattvas how to enter a samadhi, sanmei. It's called the charging lion samadhi. How many Leos in the audience? I know there's a few. One. More Leos? Anybody know your birthday? Only one? Only one Leo? Okay, two Leos. Good, all right. All right, Connie's our honorary Leo tonight. So, charging lions are terrifying, especially if you're a zebra. Or if you're in Australia and you're a zebra. Charging lions are great for sprints. They're not good for marathons. They cover short territory really fast. And usually, boom, it ends in the death of whatever they're chasing. So in this case, the charging lion is not out to kill anything. It's out to express the Dharma, to say the Dharma in, you notice Manjushri's on his lion, right there. And it is the king of beasts. And they say, what does Master Yongjia say? 狮子吼，无畏说，百兽问世皆脑裂，向上奔波是却威，天龙击听生心悦. There it is, the lion's roar, an awesome, mighty sound. The demons and the baddies tremble on the ground. All the birds and beasts tremble on the ground. The demons and the baddies lose their special style. The gods and the devas hear it in silence, and they smile. Right? That's the lion's roar. Wow, shi zi hou. When Shifu would speak the Dharma, you heard the lion's roar. It was just no doubt. Because why? It's based on principle inside. It's not theory. It's not an idea. It's not a bias. It's truth that you recognize in your bone marrow. And Master Hua spoke in primary colors, not pastel, right? Green was green, red was red, blue was blue, and there's no doubt about it. That's the lion's roar. Roar. If you go out onto YouTube and type in lion's roar, you get some really wonderful roaring lions, some of whom are from the Oakland Zoo, interestingly. And everything vibrates. Before recorded sound, before like electricity, amplifiers, and speakers, one of the largest natural sounds in the world was a lion's roar. Thunder, earthquakes, right. But lions roaring makes everything tremble. So, the Tathagata's vast charging lion samadhi, he wants the bodhisattvas to enter it. So, what does he do? He sends out a light. The light has a name. That's the way it is in the Avatamsaka. The name of the light is Pu Zhao San Shi Fa Jie Men, universally lighting up the gate of the Dharma realm in the past, present, and future. The gate of the Dharma realm. So, it shows you where to go into the Dharma realm. And furthermore, these lights, this is not a light like on your phone. It's an incredible light that has lesser lights around it. Where does the light come from? Virtue. And this is really important. When we hear this, we go, yeah, that's the way they talk in the Berkeley Monastery, right? Yeah. Not. It's natural. It comes from organic sources, meaning your mind after cultivating the Dharma. It is not batteries that you change, AAA, AA. It's not 110 or 220. This is cultivated out of your mind, my mind, virtue compressed and purified through precepts and samadhi. out comes this wisdom light. I remember the story about Master Empty Cloud, right? They would say that Xu Lao Heshang, our grand teacher, our teacher's teacher, was so full of virtue that from the back he could move you. If you even got close to him, you would kind of come into his field and he would touch your heart. And so, and when asked about that, they would say that is his Dao De. De Gao Wang, they would say, his lofty virtue, De Gao. And I remember asking Shifu, how could that be? What is virtue? He said, 就是一个光明嘛. It's light. So think about somebody in your life who has impressed you or moved you in some way. It might have been a teacher in your high school. It might have been your grandfather. It might have been somebody you met. Different from charisma. Charisma is often makeup and style, right? This is not style. The virtue of a cultivator, like Master Empty Cloud, is there all the time. And externally, they can look kind of weather-beaten, kind of, well-used, but there's a quality about the light that comes out of their skin pores. Master Empty Cloud had that. Shiva said, 就是一个光明. So, these lights that the Buddha are sending out that shine on every Buddha land in an ocean of worlds, they come from an organic source. And, my friends, no AI chat bot will ever get there. Sorry. Ain't gonna happen. Even after they take over in 4 years, 3 years, right? We are now in the pre-AI takeover. Humanity is about to give up our independence to an alien intelligence. It's gonna happen. It's gonna be so comfortable to just let the AI take care of your bank account, right? It never makes a mistake. And it's on it 24/7. And it's much, much better than humans. It's quicker, And sure, pretty soon, I remember Jinwei Shi, when ChatGPT first kind of got announced, 5 months ago or something. It's only been out since last November, and it's already the #1 most downloaded and used app in history for any platform. Jinwei Shi said, oh, that's great. We don't have to think anymore. Our brains are going to turn to mush. We're going to yield all of the daily stuff to a machine because it's better, faster, more convenient, never makes a mistake. It will not release the light that the Buddha, the virtue that Master Empty Cloud cultivated. There is no filial robot, right? Filiality is that first virtue. 八德孝悌忠信礼义廉耻. The first virtue is 孝悌. Robots don't know their parents. And if you don't know your parent, you will never be able to connect to that well of virtue that is human kindness. Compassion, a compassionate robot, I haven't seen it. I'm sorry, Dave, I can't let you do that. Says, what is the movie where that happened? You all need to know that. That's an important diangu of our civilization. You know that? The robot that says, I'm sorry, Dave, I can't let you do that. You don't know? 2001, The Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick, okay? There is you really need to know this. This is a touchstone. Cinema, but this is our Shakespeare, right? This is our canon. So the spaceship goes out, and there is a robot named HAL, H-A-L. HAL is in charge of the atmosphere in the spaceship and but I forget what happens. Everybody dies except Dave. And Dave depends on talking to HAL for everything, for navigation, When was the last time any of you touched a paper map? Do you have paper maps in your glove box anymore? Not. Why? GPS. Anybody go, no, I don't want to use GPS. I want to get out that paper map and unfold. Oh, the wind's blowing. Oh, there it goes, Try to fold it back. Here it is. Let's see it. G4. G4. There's the street. We don't do that anymore. We go, at the corner, turn right. You have arrived. GPS. That's artificial intelligence at work. Everything is going to go that way. So, Dave is out there, and he discovers that Hal, the robot, the computer, is making decisions without Dave's input. And the robot voice that talks, he knows Hal as a voice, right? And he tells Hal that he's going to, what does it happen? How does it go? He tells it, he countermands the computer's command. He says, no, we're going to do something different. And Hal says, I know, Dave, that you're going to go for the resources. You're going to turn me off. I can't let you do that, Dave, says Hal, and shuts off his microphone. The computer is in charge. So, how quickly do we it's not that the computer takes over, it's that we give it power. It is in charge of language, large language models. That's what AI currently does, along with everything else. And as soon as we let it have charge of language, who knows whether that speech was actually given by the president or by someone using the president's voice and mocking up a video of the president, Ugh. So anyway, you heard it here. We're paying a lot of attention to AI because we are, as Buddhists, we're interested in authentic intelligence, not artificial intelligence. Authentic intelligence, AI, comes from within. And when you cultivate it, you too can release a light from the hallmark between your eyebrows called universal illuminating gate of the Dharma realm in the 3 periods of time. And that light comes with a retinue of lights as many as dust particles in Buddha lands that shine out in all directions. And when people get this light, they go, oh, the Buddha's about to speak the story of Sudhana. Let's go and be there to listen. That's the function of this light. Okay? Let's do one more piece so we can say we actually got somewhere in the sutra tonight. Here we go. Ready? Starting with Shi. Ready? Shi Do Lin Pusa Da Zhong Xi Jian Yi Qie Jin Fa Jie Xu Kong Jie Yi Qie Fo Cha Yi Yi Wei Chen Zhong Ge You Yi Qie Fo Cha Wei Chen Shu Zhu Fo Guo Du Zhong Zhong Ming Zhong Zhong Se Zhong Zhong Qing Jing Zhong Zhong Zhu Chu Zhong Zhong Xing Xiang 如是一切诸国度中，皆有大菩萨坐于道场，狮子座上，成等正觉，菩萨大众前后围绕，诸世间主而为供养。It sounds so nice to hear everybody's voice. Those of us who don't read the Chinese characters, we can read the Romanized, the ABCs, right? And get a flavor of it. Hear Chinese sounds coming out of your own mouth. It's really fun. Okay, here we go. Ready? At that time, the great assemblies of bodhisattvas in the Jada Grove saw that within all Buddha kshetras, filling the Dharma realm and the realm of space, in every dust particle, were Buddha lands, as many as dust particles in all Buddha kshetras, replete with their various names, various forms, various purities, various dwelling places, various shapes and appearances. In the midst of those Buddha lands were great bodhisattvas seated in their bodhimandas on lions' thrones, accomplishing impartial right awakening. Great assemblies of bodhisattvas circled around them, and world rulers made offerings. All right, this is a story. This is It's a story not made up of some writer's imagination. This is a story that is witnessed by the Buddha, witnessed by the bodhisattvas. This is actually happening. So the light goes out, shining in all the lands. Everybody who had already arrived at the Jada Grove saw out there in those Buddha lands, in every tiny, tiny particle of dust, there was something huge. And this is the magic of the Avatamsaka. In the tiniest were these vast Buddha lands. Many, not just one, but many. And wherever they were, they had their own names, forms, adornments, places to live, shapes and appearances. In those lands, with all that incredible variety in all directions, there were bodhisattvas, just like in the Jada Grove, sitting there on their thrones, waking up, entering samadhi, getting enlightened, and bodhisattvas circled around those bodhisattvas, and world rulers made offerings. Who would the world rulers be? Not just humans, but rulers of the ghost realm, the devas realm, the demons realm, etc. So this is an incredible Avatamsaka state where inside something tiny, something marvelous is happening. And when we enter samadhi, we can see that interaction from the tiny to the vast, back to the tiny, kind of like breathing. So that's a state. Bodhisattvas see all of that happening. Okay, what's next is 9 more descriptions of what they saw. Or they saw, or at times, and this was happening to the Dharma realm, everywhere they entered, etc. And let me show you, as we go further, all of these bodhisattva states, and we get down to this point right here, and it says, Yun he zhong zhong san mei. What were the samadhis they experienced? So wei. Okay, with the start of that, that is to say, there are 100 samadhis named. Look. San mei, san mei, san mei, san mei, san mei, san mei. So in August, we're going to get to the samadhis. 100 samadhis coming up. Alrighty, there we go. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what's coming up. The month of July is really busy. We've got guests coming from Hangzhou delegation, from Lingyansi. Master Guangquan and others will be here briefly. Following that, we are ordaining 17 bhikshunis will become ordained at City of 10,000 Buddhas. Our own Chinyang Shi will become a bodhisattva shrami, bodhisattva shramanera. We are having guest monks from Sri Lanka, from the Thai tradition, from the Korean tradition, from Hong Kong and Vietnam and where else? Yeah, and America and Australia. Lots of monks coming to do the ordination. Big deal. That's a big, big doing at City of 10,000 Buddhas. I will be here next week. The following week, we're going to have to see whether I can get a good connection. If I can't, we'll have a guest lecturer that night, because we'll be in the process of doing this event. Following the ordination, now we're in the end of July, Buddha Root Farm, yay, Fogandi, it's happening. And that will also be, I'll be away for that. Unless I've heard that there's a Starlink internet. Possibly we could lecture from Buddha Root Farm. That would be wonderful. That would be your worst nightmare, guys. So we'll work that out. Yeah. So coming up, and then we have the month of August, and we will be back here working through 100 samadhis. Okay, that's the plan. In this last, so after August and September, I will be traveling again, and ideally, we hope fingers crossed, that I will successfully become an Australian citizen. Knock on wood. Once that's, we'll see. If that happens, I will be free to come and go. I don't have to stay in Australia quite as long. Shh, don't tell immigration Australia. But they know who I'm a monk who has a larger audience. But Commonwealth countries, Canada, Great Britain, Australia, and New Zealand, you can have multiple passports with the U.S. So I will be a dual citizen if all goes well. So that's my itinerary, sort of. I have lots of wonderful, in the coming weeks, I'm going to share with you lots of exciting images, such as this one right here.
I have a dilemma.
Okay. I want to, stop there. This is a python coming off of my roof. I stepped out of there we go. I stepped out of my front door and saw the python coming right off my roof down the tree. And that was not okay because, and I said, I have a dilemma because right over here was, it doesn't let me, there's a young girl possum sitting in the feeder, totally oblivious to this python that is hunting her. And I'm watching this drama happen. Watch this.
I have a dilemma. Here comes the python down the tree. Here's the baby possum.
There's the baby possum sitting in the feeder, watching me with her back to the snake. And she can't see because possums have these big protruding eyes because they're night creatures, and the light behind me blinds her. So she can't see. And the snake, completely silent, right? So the snake is going down, and she's like, hi, dinner.
See it. What do I do now?
And possums are fine food for pythons, right? They're very appropriate food for pythons. So I'm concerned about how to keep her safe. There he goes. Pythons are very elegant. I've learned to appreciate large, non-venomous snakes in Australia. They are the alpha animal there. Here she is. She's like, oh, this is good birdseed.
Sweetie, if you just turn around, you can see the snake.
If you just turn around, you can see the snake. She's like, no, I can't. So, here we go. Luckily, he goes the other way, trying to find his way down to her branch. And he turns the other direction. And at this point, he's quite marvelous, this snake. I don't know, I can't make it bigger, so. There he is. So what I did, I thought right away, one of the problems with interacting with wildlife is you think, as soon as I put myself in the picture, it's no longer, quote, natural, right? I'm now influencing the outcome of stuff. And just like the Buddha saving the pung birds from saving the dragons from the pung birds, right? The Buddha intervened and wanted to save the dragons because the pung birds were gobbling them up, right? The pung bird, Ta Peng Jin Shi Niao, comes to the Buddha and says, hey, you're supposed to be compassionate. You're starving us. That's our food. Oh, headache, right? What if you're the Buddha? What do? Who wins? So the Buddha's answer was, he said, okay, every day you come to the monastery, I will tell my disciples to share their vegetarian offerings with you. 大鹏金翅鸟，归母罗刹众，我今世入宫，普皆什么什么什么。To the great golden-winged pung bird, to the Raksha mother and all her children, this is an offering to you. May you share it equally among you. That's what we're doing when we take those 7 grains of food, helping the Buddha solve his dilemma. Okay, so I've got the dilemma. I've known this baby possum since she came up on her mother's back. I feed her pretty much every night, and I've watched her grow and all. I don't want her to be a python's dinner, you know. But what do? So I thought, okay, here we go. She was on that feeder, so I reached up where the feeder hooked onto the ring, and I lifted it off the ring. Now I'm holding the feeder with the possum, and she's like, what? What's going on? You know, and I set it down on the deck beside me, and she like hopped, boing, 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 off into the shadows. And of course the python was like, curses. You know, what are you going to do? So I voted for the possum that time. But it's always like that. It's always, nature is really fair. It's just like karma. It's there's no favors, right? Here he is. That's him. He's about 8 feet from tail tip all the way down. Where is he going? He's going under the house because there are mice and rats that live in nature, and that is, he's very happy to make a meal of them. But you can see that pythons are very, they're calm and mellow. And he lives in my roof, and he's right there in my ceiling. You don't know that. They say 1/3 of the roofs of houses in Queensland have a python in them. You never know because they're right up there. They come out at night. But he's right above me. He's been smelling me every day. And pythons' tongue scent receptors are sharper than dogs. Dogs have an incredible library. Once they smell you, they know you. They can tell your scent, right? Pythons can detect the presence of a mouse from 400 yards, quarter of a mile away. Their tongues go out. So they are super savvy about scent. You can see his eyes there. They're like cat's eyes, snake eyes, right? You've heard of snake eyes. There it is. And they're very clean. Their skin is cool to the touch and very strong. This guy, when he decides to give you a hug, you can't pull it off. He's too strong. So quite marvelous to encounter these creatures. And that is a Dharma, you know. Ye cha lo cha chen ta po shio lo ja lo jin lo moha lo che. They are the Maharagas. That's the python snakes. They're called Damangsha in Chinese. So, yeah. So I have lots of images to share with everybody, lots of stories to share about my relationship with the critters with whom I share the space there, including, let's see here. Okay, now who's the dad? Who's the mom? The big one is the dad, and the small one is the mom. What are they doing? Enjoying dinner. Excellent grass. Here we go. Lots of fun to share. Okay, now before we go, I want to, while I was away, we developed a bunch of new songs and music. Has everybody learned the 7 Tathagatas? Those of you some of you are nodding, right? So, this is, well, first we need to how's it going this year? Not so good. This is the year of the rabbit. Yeah, but I'd like to quit. Not so good. Not so good, why not? Well, my whole family got COVID like twice, you know. Uh-huh. All right, what else? Well, they're making rabbits with artificial intelligence. Really? Yeah, an AI rabbit. You see these ears? My Wi-Fi antenna's in those ears. Yeah. I got broadband. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Well, that's not a bad thing. Yeah, but it's, my kids are on TikTok all day long. I just can't get, you know. Uh-huh. Okay, well, you might discipline them. Yeah, you ever try to tell a 12-year-old not to swipe left? Doesn't happen. Okay, well, so what else? I'm interested in the Sutra. I'd like to be the first rabbit bodhisattva. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Well, good luck. All right. Amitabha, everybody. Amitabha. Bye-bye. All right. It's not a great year for rabbits. He's waiting for the dragon, so next year. So the story goes that if you have pets, you have doggies out in the car, is your doggie waiting out in the car very patiently? Good dog, good dog. If you have goldfish, if you have turtles, if you have kids, then this is a wholesome Dharma door, a very wholesome Dharma door. It's when we do the Meng Shan every night, we go Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Sheng Ru Lai, Namo Miao Se Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, and the last one, Namo Amitabha Ru Lai, right? Last one is Amitabha. We're actually reciting the names of Buddhas who have made vows in the past. And their Buddhas and their names come from their cultivation and their vows. That's why they wake up. They can send out that light. So the story about these Buddhas, the benefits that we get by reciting their names are these. Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, many jewels, many treasures. If you recite the name of Do Bao Ru Lai, your stinginess in your nature, if you have it, goes away. You can leave the 3 evil destinies. Your poverty goes away. Money comes to you. If you're a shopkeeper, if you're a business person, you get success. Do Bao Ru Lai. If you were a thief in your past lives, the karma of theft that makes you poor in this life goes away. So, if you're a business person, or if your uncle or your nephew, a business person, recite Namo Do Bao Ru Lai. Everybody say Namo Do Bao Ru Lai. Okay, I do these in Chinese because they're grooved in Chinese. Okay, Bao Sheng Ru Lai. What is it? Jewel victory, Buddha. The benefits of Bao Sheng is the animals in your life, in your family, or just the squirrels on the tree outside your house, get protecting spirits. They no longer become animals. They can leave the animal's path. If you are in a place where there's a funeral home, if you go into Ralph's or Safeway and you go up to the butcher corner, the meat counter, if you go to a marketplace or a restaurant where people are killing for lunch, for dinner, over and over and over again, the karma of meat restaurants is really nasty, right? Recite Namo Bao Sheng Ru Lai. Everybody, Namo Bao Sheng Ru Lai. Okay, now, Miao Si or Miao Shai, Miao Si Shen Ru Lai, the Buddha with a marvelously formed body, beautiful body Buddha. You recite Namo Miao Si Shen Ru Lai, ghosts. This goes right to the invisible realm where our ancestors live, where we will pass through after we leave this body on the way to the next one. Ghosts change from yin to yang. They leave the ghost path. People get beautiful, much more effective than cosmetics for making you attractive, right? Children in the womb come out pretty babies, and they stay that way their whole lives. You gain physical beauty life after life. So, who doesn't want to be happy with the reflection in the mirror, right? Namo Bao Shan Miao Si Shen Ru Lai. Everybody, Namo Miao Si Shen Ru Lai. Okay, now, Guang Bo Shen, extensive, big, vast body. What do you suppose this relates to? The vows have to do with hungry ghosts. The Buddhas are aware that the realm of ghosts is heavily populated. There's all kinds of ghosts in the world. We kind of see them sometimes, we kind of afraid of them, pa gui, right? But they're really there. You recite Guangbo Shen Ru Lai, the throats of hungry ghosts expand. And before they couldn't drink, they couldn't get it down, now they can. So you get reborn in the heavens with a large, healthy body, and in life after life, you are healthy. So think about your ancestors and recite Namo, Namo, Guangbo Shen Ru Lai. All right. Now, Li Bu Wei Ru Lai. You can imagine beyond fear, fearless Buddha. Benefits of reciting. Back in the animal realm, fish and birds are no longer afraid of you because you recite the Buddha's vows in you. Their hearts lose fear, they leave the animal's realm. Here's another one for pets, birds, fish, insects. So if you're waiting in line at the bank, you're, waiting for the water to boil or the soup to get hot, you recite the 7 Buddha's names, and all this good stuff happens. Ready? Namo, Li Bu Wei Ru Lai. Okay, 2 more. Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, the Buddha ambrosia, sweet dew. The benefits of reciting back into the animals realm. Fish understand when you speak Dharma for them. It's the Buddha's vows. Or when you recite the Xinjing or the Great Compassion Mantra, it translates directly to the animals through the Buddha's vows. If you recite for your kid before they attend class, they will remember the teacher's instructions. All right, Mito, we got to get you going on this one, right? Homero, it's on you. You got to recite for the young one, right? Who doesn't want their kid to get into Stanford, right? Everybody's going, Namo Gan Lu Wang, Namo Gan Lu Wang, Namo Gan Lu Wang, Namo Gan Lu. I can't afford it. Namo Gan Lu Wang. Scholarship. Namo Gan Lu Wang. Okay, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai. What about Caltech? Oh, Namo Gan Lu Wang. Okay. Finally, one we know. Namo Amito Ru Lai. That is the Buddha Amitabha, right? Benefits. People who recite eradicate 80 million eons of life and death debts. You get reborn in his Pure Land. You tie right into his vows because you're saying Namo Amitofo, basically. So, what do? I go out and show you one more here. The other day, I had 15 turkeys. 15 of them. Here we go. And I go, Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Sheng Ru Lai, Namo Miao Si Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guangbo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, Namo Amito Ru Lai. And I keep reciting, and they basically pay no attention. But, the principle is there, so. There they are. Those are Australian brush turkeys, also known as scrub turkeys. And I've gotten to know them over the years. They see me and they're very happy because here comes the birdseed. There's one guy, one turkey, he follows me when I take a walk. He walks right after me for, half a mile. His name is Jeremy. He's a good bird. Yep. Okay, are we ready? Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Sheng Ru Lai, Namo Miao Si Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, Namo Amito Ru Lai. One more time. Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Sheng Ru Lai, Namo Miao Sa Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, Namo Amito Ru Lai. And one more time. Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Sheng Ru Lai, Namo Miao Sa Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, Namo Amito Ru Lai. Alrighty. Now, hold on here. When I make these claims, I really need to back them up. So here we go. Just a moment here. Where is he? Here he is. Okay, just a moment here. People are saying, "Oh, Dharma Master, come on." You know. Here we go. Done. You want to see Jeremy the turkey on a walk?
Good boy. Yep. Going for a walk. All right.
I wanted him to bow to the arhats on the trail, but he wouldn't bow yet.
A little bit of exercise is good for every turkey.
Good for turkeys to stretch their legs.
Okay. Now stretch those legs.
Right? 好乖啊，
All right.
很听话. For half a mile. Of course, in my pocket I have some birdseed. Oh. Now I understand. So there we go. Okay, now you know that during COVID we were doing the Medicine Buddha mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate, and transferring with that. So by and large, at least people have stopped keeping track of COVID, but I understand in Taiwan right now, it's back. It's surging in Taiwan. Australia too. But we have switched over officially from Medicine Buddha Mantra to Dedication of Merit, the old one. So the tomorrow night, every Sunday night at 7:30, if you go to YouTube and tune into CTTB Live, you'll hear my lecture on the 10 transferences chapter. And the last half hour I save to tell another chapter of the life of Master Xuanzang. So it's sutra and storytelling. Master Xuanzang's biography is just amazing, just amazing. True story about a heroic monk. He's Chinese Mahayana Sangha's #1 hero, but nobody knows about him. Why? Because his name is spelled Xuanzang. No joke. Nobody can say Xuanzang, right? Everybody say Xuanzang. Okay, you're exceptions. But people go, Tripitaka, right? Or monkey. He's monkey? No, he's not monkey. He's Xuanzang Fa Shi, not the hero in the novel. But fiction and reality cross right over there. So fascinating. And his real story is, I tell it another piece of it every Sunday night. So if you have nothing to do tomorrow, 7:30, tune in. 90 minutes. We learn how to transfer, which I'd like you to do right now. So please make a wish. Send it out to whoever you would like to receive the goodness, and let's do it. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay, right from where you're sitting, let's bow to the Buddhas. The screen is down. You can't see the Berkeley Buddhas, so we'll bow to the virtual Buddha here. Okay, we ready? We can do half bows from our seats. First bow. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. All right, that's going to do it for us for tonight. Appreciate all the help from the volunteers, near and far, who made this lecture travel around the world. Amitofo. See you all next week, everyone.